Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. I'm making this video to explain how to use Auto Chat Patterns Ultimate. This is one of my invite-only scripts, and also we'll in this video, in this tutorial, we'll try to discuss different settings available with this script, and discuss how to make use of them for your trading. This is not a new script. This is published way back in May, but it has gone through few updates and a lot of updates actually, like more than 10 updates so far. So even though I have already published a video for this on how to use different settings and all these things, which you can find here in the page of in the script page, the related ideas section. Um, it's kind of outdated because I made a lot of changes on top of this, and the script is continuously improving. So I thought I'll make another one to give better information on how to use this to your advantage. And also, if you want to subscribe to the script or apply for trial, you can look at this instruction here in the same script page. You can go to this links and apply for subscriptions or trial. It will be granted immediately. Means if the trial condition is that you can only avail the trial once. So if you already used trial, you will not get it. But if you're not used trial for this script before, you'll get it immediately. So let's get started with the settings. When you load a chart, load the script on the chart, you'll see following things. First is close stats, close trade stats, open trade stats, patterns, and then the pattern trading details or trading ideas. Right. So one thing to be kept in mind is that patterns will not be there all the time on the chart. For example, if you go to 1 hour time frame, you may not find a pattern because the price is not making any pattern. So that's pretty normal, and it's nothing to be worried about. If there is no pattern, just mean that there's no pattern, there's no trading opportunities. Just look at the different tickers or different time frames, or if any other instruments which are there in your trading list, right? And then the close trade stats, it's like for every pattern trade suggestions created, it will try to calculate, or it will try to keep track of how many trades reached an entry, or how many trades happened on the long side, short side, how many went on and hit the target one, how many went on and hit the target two. Also, it keeps track of what is the risk reward win rate at different levels of these patterns. In order to get these details, like what all these stats are, you can just hover on this and you'll get these ideas, like what all these things. So if you look at this, says total patterns, valid count, and retest count. So total patterns are like total number of contracting triangles formed, but valid count is how many broke on the long side, how many broke on the short side. For example, the patterns are same for both long and short here. So 45 and 45, but out of 45, 22 broke on the upside and 23 broke on the downside. So that's what the stats say. That's what the stats try to will give you the information. And based on this, it will also give you how many of them have reached, how many percentage of them have reached target one. That's the, and also the way risk reward, which is on stake, and also similarly for target 2. It's also a concept called trailing win rate and trailing risk reward. That's nothing but like what is the percent of trades which hit target 1 and also hit target 2, right? So our it says, it calculates the like statistics of the patterns hitting target 1 and also target 2, right? So if 18%, if this is 44%, it means that of all the targets, all the patterns which hit target 1, 40%, 44% of them hit target 2, but rest of them went back to the stop. And that's what it means. And similarly, this is about the open trade stats. You can look into all the tooltips here and try to understand more about this. And let's go to the other part of this chart, which is open trade stats. It's nothing but it will just show what all the trades, pattern based trades which are open, and what is the status, and which side it's broken, or if it's not broken, it will not show anything. It will show everything, but it will show it as a dormant. And also it will say what is the age of the pattern, what is the size of the pattern, and what kind of pattern it is, whether it's retested or not, and all these details. Okay, so that's about open trade stats. Also, if you look at this box will suggest entry and stop and target one and target two. But this box is kind of a multi-purpose. And if you go back in time, let's say go back to this point where the entry for this pattern is not reached yet. Entry for the previous pattern is not reached. Okay, the pattern is not formed yet as well. So if I press next, the pattern is formed now, but the entry is not reached. So when the entry is not reached, this box acts as like range box. So do not trade when the price is within this range. So trade only when price breaks out of this range. So if it breaks out on the top, go long. If it breaks out on the bottom, then go short, right? So if you go further, if you go see this side, this time it actually broke down, so it hit a short entry point. Hence, there is no long trade anymore. So the long, if you look at the stats, right, the long side is blurred and only the short side is highlighted. So the short trade is active, long trade is not, not required anymore. So this patterns will stay on the chart until the price hits target 2 or price hits stop loss. Okay, so if you go further, it will create another pattern soon, as we see. Yeah, so this is another pattern where it hit the upside, like it created the patterns and then went up and hit the top. So but if you go further, it actually hit the stop and got removed and also added to the stats table, right? Similarly, once everything is done, okay, I'll not use this again. I'll exit out of the replay mode so that it's back to normal. So yeah, so here we have two patterns for this: contracting triangle, expanding triangle, and status of both of them. One of them is broken upside, and the other one is broken downside, and risk reward for each of them, and all these things which are present here. So if you look at these details, you can see all these details here, that what is the risk reward for each trade and each targets, right? And let's get to the settings a bit. If you look at this, there are certain patterns here: the channels, uptrend, downtrend, and ranging; triangles, contracting and expanding; rising and falling wedge, both contracting and expanding. And you can set entry and stop and target levels separately for each contracting and expanding triangle. Let's say this, if you look at this, for contracting patterns, the stop level is at fib level of 0.23236 and the entry is zero point 0.5. But for expanding, it's written because for contracting triangle it's always breakout. For expanding triangles, it will be a reversal. So the ratios for both will change a bit, and it will be kind of a reversal or opposite for both of them. So, but when it comes to channels, you can treat it as both. You can trade a channel saying that we can only trade the breakout, or you can trade the reversal. So that's why this option is there. How do you want to trade the channel? Do you want to trade it as expanding or contracting pattern? Right? Based on that, these rules will apply to the channels as well. Right, and you can individually disable each patterns, or you can completely disable all channels. Let's say this, don't want to look at the channels, you can just disable this, so it will remove all the channels. If you want to trade only the contracting patterns, just use this. So it will only give contracting patterns if you do this. So right now I'll not do that. I'll reset the settings, and let's look at the further settings which we have. So we looked at the patterns and different trade ratios which we can set here, and then the zigzag lengths. So zigzags are basic building blocks of the any patterns. So if you mention show zigzag lines, you can see the ratios coming here. See this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you enable the zigzags which are huge, which are higher length, then it means that you are scanning for bigger patterns. Or if you are disable this and only keep 8, means it will give you mainly small patterns. And also you can increase this length. It means that you want to search this many pivots back and try to find the pattern within that. So if you increase this too much, what happens is it will go into a problem. It will run into a problem. It will throw a runtime exception saying that cannot execute within certain time, etc. So these are kind of optimal, which will not be too slow. It will not make the scripts too slow, and it will capture. It will try to capture as much as possible. So if you want to experiment, you can experiment on this, but otherwise, I wouldn't suggest touching this ones. And similarly, we have other options like number of pivots is five. Like if you look at this again, the number of pivots to form a pattern is five. You can also scan for six pivot patterns, but it's very difficult to get six pivot patterns, and you may get very less number of patterns on the chart. If you want to try with other ones, other settings as well, you can try it out. But the default for now is set to five. The themes, dark and light, it only impacts the color of the patterns which are being drawn. So if you're using a light background, yeah, you can use this light option so that you will get the colors which are more appropriate for light background. Okay, suppress overlap means it will not create a pattern. It will not show a pattern. If there's a pattern here, it won't create another pattern which is like this, right? So you can use this option to, you can disable this option to get many patterns, more patterns, but it can become a little bit confusing if there are like lots of lines, overlapping lines in between and all. So I prefer to keep this option down. But if you're comfortable with such a layout where there are like a lot of patterns, and if you have a confidence in yourself that um, you can negate them, or you can select the ones by manual inspection, you can go ahead with this option. So extreme patterns are nothing but the patterns which are kind of too steep. For example, let's say it can say that this is a pattern, this is a contracting triangle, which is not triangle, it's a contracting wedge. So this may look like a wedge, but this may technically it may be suffice the condition because it forms the five pivots, 1 2 3 4 5. But this may not be a real wedge. So and it may be difficult to trade such setups as well. So that's why, like, if you want to keep out of such patterns, you enable those options, right? And use real time bar. So using the real time bar means you'll get the pattern recognition alert as early as possible. Like once it's forming here, you'll get a alert saying that this pattern is formed. But the problem with this is it may give an alert that pattern is formed, but the same bar, if it goes up, then it says that there's no pattern because this char line is not joining anymore. So there is no pattern. It may say that. So because of that, using a real time bar, it may cause repainting. So prefer not to use this when, especially when you are using it for auto trading, etc. Okay, so this filters, there are a few filters which I've added for research purposes. You don't need to use them. It's like, you select the patterns only when the last pivot direction is up or down. So if you look at this is up, last pivot direction, this is down. And if I select this option, it will remove this particular pattern because this is down, like the last pivot direction is down. And similarly, I make it as down, it will remove this pattern and add back this pattern. So this is not working. So down is not working. Okay, I'll check this one. Why is that? Good, I found a bug. But anyway, this is mainly created for research purposes. If you want to research the stats based on different types of patterns, you can use them. Otherwise, it's okay. Similarly, you can add an external indicator, external script to filter these patterns based on the last pivot direction. So some of the details are present in this tooltip. You can read them and try to follow them. Again, both these filters are used only for research purposes. So I suggest not to use them if you don't understand them. I definitely don't use them for live trading unless you are very sure of what you're doing. Okay, so we discussed about the ratios, we discussed about different channels, and let's look at the stats table here. So you can, these stats table, you can enable and disable any of them. You also can control the position of the stats table and what size of the text you want to see and all these things. So these are the default settings. You can change them to whatever you want based on your screen size and what all details you want to see on the screen and all. One thing is that, if you're using this for alerts, maybe disable all these things because it will slow down the alert process as well. So when you remove all these display things, the alerts will be faster and you may get a better execution, right? So the close stats, this particular status settings, so you want to see it as percentage. You can see that you can see the win rate as percentage, and you want to see the absolute numbers. So you can also see the absolute numbers there. So see this 6 out of 9 patterns reached target 1 and 1 out of 4 reached target 2. But if you look at the percentage, it will show in terms of percentage, right? And 1 out of 4 reached pattern hit count. Okay, retest count. Okay, so hit count and reach. So not 1 out of 4. Sorry, this is 4 out of 22 reach target 2. This is 9 out of 22 reach target 1, right? So this is if you go to hover on this, you'll say what it is. It says hit count and retest count. So retest is nothing but the pattern formed and then it reached an entry and then came back within the entry range. That is considered as a retest. Otherwise it's just it's just pattern formed, and if it went directly to the target without retouching, then it's not considered as a retouched. So I'm just calculate. This is useful when you are placing a limit order, because if you are placing a limit order and the retouch count is very less, that means that strategy is not going to work out for you, because most of them will not come back and hit your entry price. Okay, and coming back to this, what else we left? We talked about percentage. Okay, the selective, compact, and detailed. So when it is selective, what it does is it will show only those patterns which are active on the screen, and also it will show the total. If you say detailed, it will show all the patterns, the different patterns. Yeah, so all different patterns and all the stats it will show. If you select compact, that means that it will show only the total. So I prefer to keep it as selective, so that whatever the patterns on trade, I'll see the details straight away, and also I'll see the total strat details. Okay, the show zigzag lines, which we already explored, and show pattern label means it will show the pattern label, what pattern it is, like a contracting triangle or expanding triangle and all these things. It's just additional layer display. To keep the chart clean, you can keep it closed. Clear old patterns. So if you want to see all the past patterns happened, you can select this, but it makes the screen bit messy. So I prefer to select this option, see only the patterns which are on trade. And that's done. That's about it. And the last thing, probably just have 1 minute. This alerts. There's another video on alerts, which says about how to make use of these templates, alert templates. These scripts are using alert alert function of the Pine script. So when you try to set an alert, you will not get this option of selecting template here, right? Message template here. That's why what we do is we use this particular path to make that happen. Also, you can select whatever the template, whatever the alert you want to receive. Let's say if you want to receive only the entry alert or new alert, you can only select that and deselect other things. And once you've done that, you have to set the alert here and select this option of condition. In the condition, select the indicator, and I would create an alert. And I think we are running out of time, and that's all for today, guys. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll try to add some details in the description of this idea as well. And thanks very much.